welcome back to Gunners Rust Podcast, where we are positively Patreon. And I haven't decided yet, but this might make it onto the main feed. I do not know. I'm just kind of on here to give thoughts because, as always, we're going with a review and a preview because these matches are coming quick and fast. So we've got a review of that Brighton game and obviously everything that happened there, and then the preview of Mansfield at the weekend. Tempted to put it on the main feed. So if you're hearing this on the main feed, welcome. And if you really like it, obviously join the Patreon because this is happening every week on the Patreon because the games are coming so quick to get reviews and previews in. It's pretty much audio per day over there on the Patreon, and obviously you're in that raffle to win a graded Arsenal card every single month if you're a paid Patreon. So please jump over there if you're enjoying the podcast. But I almost feel like it needs to be on the main feed just because I feel like you need something to listen to today, because I did the same thing today. Been out doing chores, doing some work this morning, and I thought, I need to hear Arsenal fans' thoughts, or Arsenal-centric people talking about last night, because it was such a bizarrely horrible watch, lovely watch, that I didn't know how to take it all in, and I feel like I needed someone in my ears to kind of remind me how good it is, or give me reason, or give me kind of maybe a reality check, or whatever it is. I needed something, and there wasn't anything this morning. And I was kind of like, we should be that, because I'm sure there'll be other Arsenal fans out there refreshing their podcast feed, hoping for something to pop up. And it's simply because it was such a bizarrely, the physical match was hard to watch, but the outcome was so fun and good and gave you that feeling of checking content. And the reason I want to add that content is because the only content being talked about is obviously what the Brighton manager said has set off every pundit in the world to put asterisks next to us and all these things. They're absolute nonsense. And I think Arsenal fans, instead of just scrolling X or Instagram or Blue Sky or wherever you're scrolling and getting constant affirmation of they're cheaters or these things, people have got more of an issue with this than they have with the team that are chasing us having 115 actual charges. It is so bizarre. And I saw Rio Ferdinand today kind of made a statement, and I'll read that out later, that kind of actually put it in perspective of why fans should just kind of, why we got such sour grapes. If you don't like the way they play, stop them. That's the end of it. There's no other way around it. And that Arsenal are actually doing everything they can to get over the line. And if they can win something major this year, that will give them that confidence. So next year they don't have to kind of start getting a very, the word I like to use, gammy by the end of the season. Because, this is a team that 2 weeks ago scored 4 open play goals away from home. A week ago we scored 2 set pieces, or 4 days ago, 2 set pieces. And then last night was an open play goal. But for whatever reason, it's turned into this, league-wide issue. The league's a problem, while every manager and player seems to be coming out saying it's the hardest league they've ever played in this particular year, and how hard it is to create chances from open play. All these things Arteta said about 3 years ago in press conferences, saying it's going to get harder and harder every year to score from open play because of the way the coaches are going. So set pieces are the way forward, so we need to get ahead of that. I mean, that should be commended because he saw it coming and he got ahead of it, and we're the best at it. But it's not like we're scoring 90% of our goals from these places, and people are saying the ball's not in play enough. We can literally read out the metrics of other teams that are way worse than us. With our throw-ins and stuff like that, does it frustrate even me as a fan a little bit sometimes, where I'm like, come on, a little bit quicker? Of course. Do we sit down and get treatment and all these things constantly? No. There's teams that do it so much worse than us, and the reason it hurts is because usually the team that are doing it are winning, and I know that because the amount of times Arsenal need a result, and I've seen a Newcastle play it down, or a Palace play it down, or a Brighton play it down, or knocking the ball away and not getting reprimanded like we did, and all these frustrations usually come when you're losing. When you're winning, it's fine because, as a fan, I just want to see out a game, and I'll talk a bit about that today because I think we actually did a better job of seeing out a game than we have done recently. But so that's why we're on here, and I think it is, I'm already kind of decided it's going on the main feed as well. But the first thing we'll talk about is the game. Team news came out. I had heard that Rice and I think Saliba, Odegaard hadn't travelled with the team, but a lot of in the know sort of Saliba and Rice were travelling down later that day. I think this is quite a normal thing. For example, like someone like Rice who has kids and stuff, they can't leave at a specific time, but they'll meet at the hotel later in the evening. I assume someone comes and gets a car and drives them down or whatever, because of not an emergency, but things that are happening that are beyond their control, or even if it was media responsibilities or something you had to do. But either way, I'd heard that they were going to head down late. It turns out Rice did, but Saliba did not. It was a little twist of the ankle during the Chelsea game that he kind of played through. So instantly you kind of feel that slight nerves of, we're going away from home. And, if I look at our fixtures, if I had to rank them, and again, this doesn't necessarily mean anything, because as City proved last night, any game can kind of be your hardest game, because you could go down to 10 men, you could have certain people out, the fixtures come fast after a away game in a Champions League or something. An easy fixture could become hard, and a hard fixture could become easy based on, happenstance. But when you just look on paper and you look at Arsenal's last 9, including last night, and you look at City's last 10, when I looked at this match week, I think that's Arsenal's second hardest game left. Because I think if you had said this when there was 11 games to go and City had 12, I think I would have added Tottenham away and Chelsea at home, with the Brighton game being fourth, and then City being the hardest game away from home. But I'd rank this around second as of the last 9. If you extended that to 11, I had this about fourth hardest. But ironically, that means second and third hardest, which was Tottenham away and Chelsea at home. We've actually just got 6 points out of 6. So going into this, 3 of our last 4 hardest games were coming in 3 weeks in a row. And when we talk about zooming out in the podcast, you zoom out and kind of think about that. You go, oh wow, we ended up with 9 points from 9 there of our 3 hardest games that aren't the City game. But if you were looking at 9 until the end of the season, City 10, I would have Forest at maybe their easiest game left. Dare I say, maybe second to easiest, simply because of position in the league, it being at home, it being midweek. It just felt like a recipe for a good, easy City win. So when I was looking at it, I was thinking, instant reaction before the game. I was thinking, we end up drawing this or even losing, but I was thinking of more of a draw, and City win that. Naturally, we're all going to be panicked because they're going to be 3 points behind us with a game in hand. That game in hand takes us level. Goal difference with that game in hand could potentially etch them up to basically be in line with us. So there's a chance that by the time we get to the Etihad, I think that game in hand actually end up having afterwards anyway, so it's never going to line up this way. But there was a chance that the Etihad game could be the game that decides who goes ahead of the other. And if it's a draw, we could be looking at 5 more games where we're both on level goal difference, level points, and that could be terrifying. So I think we're all looking at that and, disasterizing, I think that's the word, what was coming. And then you do look at it on paper and go, second hardest game versus their easiest, second out of 9, theirs is probably 10 out of 10 easiest, maybe 9 out of 10 easiest. And you thought, all right, if we can just win this, it's another one out the way. And again, I'm not saying that now that's out of the way, we're going to win out, except for the City game. It just means that on paper it looked that way. So going into it, I just thought, I'm just going to ignore the City result. I'm not going to check the result. I'm not going to fall for it. I did for the Leeds game. I kept checking the result. I watched the end, and they were absolutely, in all fairness, City, people keep talking about that we look panicked and nervous at the end of that Chelsea game, or we looked panicked and nervous last night. Watch City play at a minute. They're showing the same signs, if not worse, because against Forest, they didn't necessarily look nervous, but they looked susceptible. They still created that massive chance in the end. We'll talk about some of their potential penalty decisions as well. But there was moments in that Leeds game. I thought they had a good attack, and then they had another chance later on in the game. Other than that, I feel like they were under the cosh a lot of that game. Similar to what we were last night, but Brighton never truly created anything of note. There was the giveaway early on, and again, that was the perfect example of what we like to do, which is we're in control. We train all week for a game, and then instantly one of our players would go, should we just hand them a goal and see if it changes something? We've done this away at Bournemouth. We've done it against Man United. We like this kind of, the way we can see the goal is usually by giving the team a goal. So when that happened, I thought, oh, here we are. Because, again, like I said, you look at that team, as you saw Saliba out, and you thought, Mascara is a quality player, but Saliba's one of our, rocks, main players. Missing is tough. Hincapié, who, by the way, played an unbelievable game, as he tends to. You're thinking him instead of Calafiori, Gabriel, who had a monster game as well. Mosquera's in. Timber, who's absolutely ran his race, is down at right back. And you thought, God, it's starting to look a little bit leggy, you know what I mean, at the back, and this is the time in which we need to really push on. And you thought, oh, we're missing Calafiori, we're missing Saliba. How's this going to work? We had Zubimendi and Rice, and I think we're all agreeing that I think Zubimendi is an unbelievable player, potentially might be deciding a season across the Premier League, but definitely for Arsenal. His race is run. You know, I'm not saying he shouldn't play again. I'm just saying he almost needs to be taken out of the firing line for a minute. I wouldn't be opposed to him getting a rest against Mansfield, maybe doing the trip to Leverkusen, but maybe not playing. Let Norgard take the reins for a couple games, and then bring him back in at Everton game. So he's kind of got nearly 14 days off. Would that be 14? No, about 10 days off. 10 days off, and then he's got that cup final. We need everyone fully fit for before the international. If we win that Carabao Cup, or even if we're not, do I think he should sit down and have 2 weeks off? Yes. I think him and Timber could do with feigning some injury. This is what Alex Ferguson, this is what Pep, this is what Klopp all did in run-ins. I think we need to be very smart with this international, because do you know what could happen? Go to that international and all of a sudden Rice, Saka, Calafiori, Saliba, Gabriel all don't come back. We've already lost people like Gabriel. We lost, who was it? Not Saka. Why is this lost on me? Odegaard, we lost. You know, we've had some big injuries coming out of these internationals. Calafiori, nearly every time he goes away. So we need to be really smart on who goes, and, you know, and this is the one of all the ones. I know it's an important one for Tuchel because of the World Cup, but we need to be really smart. But you saw that team, Zubimendi, Rice, Eze, very happy with that. I think Eze started the season really well. I think he's come back in. He's had a little gap in the middle. We definitely played differently, and I think this is maybe opening people's eyes to the level in which Odegaard brings to the team. And I think some of the old heads, they've kind of been lost in the injury shuffle, like Havertz, dare I say Trossard, but he's played a lot of games, and Odegaard. I think they've kind of won in this kind of last little stretch, because I think we've realised how much we miss ball retention, and we've got runners like Martinelli and Gyökeres and Eze who wants to look for that, and he's not going to come and get involved and touch the ball 30 times like Odegaard. He's looking for that one pass, one turn, one play. You know, early on in this game, there's that really lovely flick around the corner to Saka. Saka's driving. He probably should take it himself. Tries to hit it across. No one there. But, you know, they're very direct. And it's kind of what's made us so impressive this year, because I think that's why people can't really defend us sometimes, is they don't know what they're getting. They're used to a certain way Arsenal play. Then you play Gyökeres, Martinelli and Eze and all these guys, and Calafiori or Hincapié kind of roaming infield, and they go, I don't know how to stop this. And then they kind of get a handle on it, and all of a sudden we revert back to Odegaard, Havertz and these guys, and we start playing like Arsenal of the last 2-3 years. And I think even when Moreno is in, and teams go, oh God, not this again. You know, so there's huge benefits to both of them. There's also negatives that come with both of them. I think our ball retention when Eze and Gyökeres are playing is much worse than ever. I think our conversion rate and our win rate is actually higher, but the games never look right when it's those two, especially Gyökeres and Martinelli. And we had Martinelli on one side, Saka on the other, and Gyökeres down the middle. I don't know how many times we're going to have to play Gyökeres and Martinelli together to realise that maybe we shouldn't do that. Martinelli does not want to pass to that guy, and they're both kind of similar. They both want to be in that left channel, but not like full wing, but not central. They both kind of want to be in that left, you know, mid space, looking for the ball. And then Eze's kind of left out to dry, really, because when they, especially Brighton did a great job last night, once they press and we bring 4, there's just a giant gap right behind there, whereas Odegaard wouldn't allow that to happen, I think. And that's what we've missed, I think. So getting Odegaard fit and playing some of these games, it's going to be so more helpful for our heart rate and for our mental health, I think. But utilising the others in certain aspects, because there was a huge shift in that second half, because that first half, Raya gives that ball away early. Gabriel gets back to the line. I think Mitoma got in there, a couple of nice bit into play that Brighton had, and getting Gabriel with a really good tackle. But there was also a moment, I think Capi gave it away, or I think it was Rice actually gave it away near the end of the half. This is what frustrates me. Sometimes we almost, like 90% of the time, want to go backwards so much. But even when a team like them who are pressing, they have more players towards our goal than their own goal. And we have room to run, and we'll turn back into trouble just to go back to our own goal. But it's more dangerous that way. One, because our goal's there, and also their players are there. And Rice turned into trouble a couple of times. Capi comes and makes like a recovery tackle, and then Rice makes another tackle, and we're away. And those kind of turnovers are actually what created our only chances in that half. And, you know, early on we do get the goal. Saka gets the chance to come in on his left foot, which he used to score a lot of goals. He hasn't been scoring as many. Takes a naughty deflection and kind of hits the goalie on the foot and goes in. We'll take it. But again, like I said, they had a lot of chances, and Mosquera made a tackle on about the halfway line. It's very similar to the Neto one without going to ground that he got a second booking for. It felt like a booking, and he got a booking early doors, and it really kind of penned us in a certain way. And Mosquera had to ride the line, and I think he rode that line almost to the brink. But they made two more tackles after that, very similar down the left side on Martinelli and I think it was Gyökeres. Exactly the same, Ozin Capi. Same exact fouls, and there was no booking. And it wasn't until later in the half where we were kind of getting away and they pulled him down that he gave that booking. And I just thought, if you're going to jump in first, early doors and book one of our players, you've got to kind of set that standard because he lost control of it. And there was also that funny moment where Gyökeres just had the ball, a guy ran into him and fell over. And Gyökeres kept the ball and he gave a foul to Brighton, which was very interesting. But at half time, I remember thinking, like, this is not good. Like, we're playing in that way that you can tell we can't figure out what they're doing, or we have no answers. We were very deep. We couldn't come up to 20 yards because they were pressing us. And there was no way we could go long and keep the ball. And we'd gone more than we had of any Premier League game this season in that first half, because I think we almost had to, revert to it. And I was glad we did, because we were inviting our own pressure. And I know football heads and the coaches will say that you going long just invites even more pressure, but at least that pressure is further away from goal and you can get in your shape and you can bore teams a little bit. But you hoping getting into half time that they would kind of come out with something. In the end, I think it's Matoma doesn't come out the second half. It's Minter. Another one as well, right at the end of that half, Martinelli kind of not looking at the ball on a cross right on the half-time whistle brings a guy down, and I think we're very lucky not to give away a penalty there. I think that's a penalty. I think if he checks it, if they ask him to check it, I think he gives it. In the end, long wait, but we get the old half-time whistle. And we just kind of go, you know what? We'll take it. And at this point, I think City were 1-up as well. They were 1-up at half-time, I think, weren't they? Yes. And we just kind of went, all right, well, as long as we can hang out, we expect City to win. So, I wasn't even thinking about it. It was a shame when I saw that one come through, but I thought, just let it happen. Second half starts, not dissimilar to the first, and I thought we're in trouble. We need to make a change. And the way I would have done it was, I think it was Gyökeres and Martinelli for Havertz and Trossard. He ends up, I think that's the exact change he ends up doing, but that was the change I would have done. And I would have done also Norgard for Zumendi at the exact same time, because I think Norgard brings an element of calm. And even though they were like 10 minutes apart, I'm glad Norgard's getting some real minutes, but the almost relief of those guys coming on instantly was felt. That pressure we were feeling in the first half wasn't there. They were running in behind, they were creating chances, and we just started to grow into the game, and I thought, all right, this is good. Does it mean we concede? I don't know, because there's more space, but we're certainly retaining the ball better. It's frustrating them, we're pushing them back and giving our defence, who had kind of had to be rung ragged that game, an element of time just to kind of sit. Another change we had to make was Mosquera, because he was really riding the line. He'd made a couple more fouls without booking. Very lucky not to get a second booking. And he goes off for Calafiori. And I think they bring Hincapi infield one, and Gabriel comes across one. So at this point, everyone's a little bit out of position in that defence. Again, another reason to worry, isn't it? Like something you think about. And honestly, I mean, they had a couple of crosses that were, cleared, or I think it was Rutter kind of had a little flick on. Nothing of note was, they never created anything, Brighton. We created a couple with Havertz, and in the end there was one with, I think it was Trossard, really nice little bit interplay, and then Trossard kind of shanks it into a throw-in. But I mean, on any other day he buries that near post, I think, and we'd have a lot more comfortable end. But even though it wasn't comfortable, and we never got the second goal to finish it off, it was the most comfortable I'd felt, as far as Brentford away, full of Wolves. Easy to say, because obviously they end up scoring and we draw the games. But you could feel it coming. This one, I felt it coming, and then it started to go. And the last 20 minutes, I kind of didn't think it was. But then, obviously, you see Forest score, City score straight after, and you think, all right, whatever, just don't even think about it. Then Forest get that goal around 75, 76 minutes, and you think, could they hold on? And then you think, oh God, within a second they could get a winning goal and we could get a draw, and we go from thinking we're 7 points clear to 4, and not even 5 anymore. And you start to, you do start to panic a little bit. 3 points clear, sorry. So you don't want to get ahead of yourself and just ignore it. We kind of edge our way to the end. There was a couple of moments Hertzler got shushed by Hincapi. Him and Arteta went at each other. And I mean, he's talking about after the game. He'd never want to manage a team that way. He'd never want to, manage a team that plays that style of football, that we make our own rules, all this stuff. And Arteta's response is hilarious. Obviously, he's saying, I'm not surprised. But it is just sour grapes. It really comes across, he comes across how everyone sees Arteta. And Arteta is not anything like this guy. And the way they were moaning is kind of how they say Arsenal moan. And instead, it's been that people are buoyant by it, and they're kind of going with it and being like, yeah, he's right. But the stats don't back it up. That's the thing is, you can try and put an asterisk next to us, as Alan Pardew did, which is ridiculous. You can claim that the Dark Arts FC, Set Piece FC, who are second in the league after Liverpool in set pieces. We're Dark Arts FC when we are the fourth most in-play team. And there's teams like Spurs, Newcastle, that are absolutely awful at it. He was saying they're going down a lot. We were down as much as them. They were just getting touched and going down. They were wasting their own time. Yeah, do we walk a little bit on throw-ins and slow down? Definitely. I think that's the one that I would say that we're the bad at, is the throw-ins take forever. There's never a throw-in that just take a week. Every throw-in takes an hour. And that's the only one I'd say is that we're really bad with. I think the set pieces, I think it's been kind of proven that our corners take the longest of anyone by about 2 seconds. Last night, our average time to get the ball back in play was 31 seconds. There's 196 other times this season where teams were slower than that. Over 196 different games. So not individual, 196 different games had a slower back in play rate. So it wasn't a particularly slow one. I think there was a stat that came out that said something like the ball was out of play for 30 minutes last night. To give you an idea, we played Newcastle last year. We ended up drawing, where the ball was in play, not in play for 44 minutes. That's 14 more minutes. That was really frustrating for us. And you know what we said? This is really annoying. We want to just play football and win. And we drew, and everyone went, well, get used to it. That's the Premier League. That's English. That's English folklore. This is dark arts. This is just sportsmanship. It's gamesmanship. Well, we do 14 minutes less than them. And apparently we're taking too long. And again, it's like last night here. You could see like when we were winning a throw or they kicked the ball out, no one was around. Not our prerogative to be near the ball when it goes out. That's your problem. If you kick the ball out and we're not near you, that's your problem. The manager kind of shouting for us to run. If we're 1-0 up on 60 minutes, we have no reason to have to sprint, risk injury, sprint over to your manager, take that ball and quickly rush and get it back in play and make a mistake. That is not our prerogative. You should be. You should be sprinting to that ball, getting that ball back in play, let's get a goal. You're the one that needs it. There's no prerogative. If we're going over there and you're throwing the ball to us, we're moving out the way and then it rolls on the pitch, we go pick it up, we pull a hamstring, they sit down, they get back up, they don't let the medics come on, then he's fine. That's dark arts. Taking a couple of seconds to walk over because we don't have to. The ref can do what he wants. He's speeding us up. We're getting bookings sometimes. We literally got players sent off last year for the same thing. We felt the wrath of all of this. And there's that clip, I think, of David Red, catching the ball and then kicking out, and they're saying he held it for, I think it was 16 seconds. It's actually 12 seconds. The rule is 8. But if you actually read the rule, the clock starts when a player is not in the vicinity. So basically, when he goes down on the floor, it doesn't start until he stands. Once he stands up, and Welbeck moves away from his passing lane, which is his right foot, then the clock starts. And if you count it from there, it's about 6 seconds. So there's things like people really clutching at straws and you're thinking, we're sitting here defending ourselves. We don't have to. And that's why I'll bring up that Rio Ferdinand quote, which was, just opening it now. He said, I think Arsenal will win this Premier League title by hook or by crook. I think they'll win it by any means necessary. I think the following year, with the confidence and the silverware, they'll become a different beast altogether, even more hard teams to play against. I absolutely agree and respect Arsenal's tactics. I still think they deserve respect for the way they've crafted this and the way they got this together and become so dominant. It's fearful now. You can sense fear in the opposition when they get a set piece and their deliveries are an absolute joke. Exactly this. It's so ridiculous that it's being brought into question. And obviously, also a good response to Hertzler was Ray Parlour and Michael Owen responded saying the reason he doesn't want when he said that he doesn't play the kind of football he likes they said it's because he hasn't managed a team going for a title before. All you have to do is win. And that's exactly it. He's not experienced the pressure. He hasn't experienced the being the laughing stock for 2-3 years because we didn't do this. We lost 2 Premier League titles because we didn't do any of this. We didn't, slow down. We made mistakes. We rushed, tried to play nice football even when we didn't have to. And everyone laughed at us. So now we're going, no. We're not allowing this out of our grasp. We're going to, by any means necessary, we're going to win these games. And now they're mad. And I think last night was like a jumping off point. I think a lot of people either went with Hertzler and said, yeah, I'm glad someone's saying it. And a lot of people went, nah, this is too far now. Like, it's a joke. Like, people was putting asterisks next to a title win that's absolutely fair and square is crazy. So, getting back to the game, it comes to an end. We do win it. It was that moment where I think it went long on a court throw and you just on a cross, and you thought, this next goal kick, you kind of enjoy it. And then what came was a really lovely moment. Was we were kind of walking onto the field to go to the away fans, and there was a second ovation for the City result ending. And obviously I wasn't keeping an eye on it, so I was waiting to hear it. And then the commentators, who did a great job on it, were saying they've done it. Forest have made City drop points. And you can see Arteta tell Saka and all these kind of things. And the way they are in the crowd, there's like an emotion. I felt emotional watching it because, see some older people, some of the older ladies, the older men, kind of just smiling, some crying, some had their fingers crossed still. There was that one girl that was just kind of pointing her head repeatedly. But people had their shirts off and all sorts. And it felt special because I feel like the 2 title races we were in, the first one we were miles ahead at this point, but we went on to draw 3 in a row, then lose, and then it pretty much wasn't in our hands. So we were never in not a comfortable position. We were never in a position where we could start going, all right, get another one done. We kind of started to capitulate before all this. And then the year after, it came down to the last day, but we were always chasing and just hoping they were going to drop points, and they never did. So there wasn't really anything that you couldn't really celebrate because you were never ahead. And then last year, obviously, it wasn't a title race. But so it was really nice to kind of be like, okay, we've got 9 games to go, or 8 games now. And you think, wow, they can kind of do that thing you see on Premiership years when you look back where, this was a big moment for Arsenal that night that this happened, or blah, blah, blah. And talking about big moments, I mean, if you look at the City game, I think they had a couple chances for a penalty. I think one was the Rodri shot. His follow-through hits Anderson. I think Dermot Gallagher's actually right on Sky Sports. I think it's actually, if anything, a foul by Rodri. I think it's just coming together. I don't think it's one of these that you can kind of go, he's got the shot away and still been kind of destroyed. Which sometimes aren't given anyway. So I don't think that one was. And I'll point you to the Haaland one, because the Haaland one is identical to the one that Gyökeres had that was given on the field against Newcastle at St James's Park and then rescinded. And at the time, I remember the goalie got the ball in the Arsenal one. The goalie did not get the ball in this one. But what he does is he kicks the ball off the field well away from the goal, just so he can find that contact, and he leans into it. And the only contact he actually makes is his knee in the goalie's face, so he's endangering the goalie, if anything. I really think it is the right decision. I don't think this is an awkward one. Should they have scored in the last second if it wasn't for Murillo? Yes. Should Murillo maybe get a statue if we go on to win the league? Yes, because I think this could be a huge moment. And it's really points dropped where you don't expect points to be dropped as far as City go, because going into this match week, I really thought it was just about, even if we draw, just mentally knowing we've got better days coming, and they've got worse. They've got to go to West Ham. We've got 3 points at Fulham. That's an awkward place to go. They've got to go there after we play Everton at home. Then there's not a game for 4 weeks in the league. And their next one, when they get back from the internationals, is Chelsea away before they play us. So, whereas we got Bournemouth at home. So if we can win the next 2 home games, there's a chance they could drop even more points going into the Etihad, that any kind of draw or win for us could not see off the league. It's still not there, but it could be a win or 2 away. So these are so important. That's what I said a couple of weeks ago, is to forget about the Etihad game. It's all about just winning these games that we have to win. Forget about everything else. Each week is a different one. When it comes to Everton in 10 days, just got to get that over the line. That's all it's about. Get over the line with those points and don't worry about City. And that's what I did last night. For me personally, I just wasn't thinking about it, and at the end I was just happy with what happened. But don't get caught up in it. Just think about you. As long as we win, we're absolutely fine. And now we've got that 7-point cushion. It means when they win their game in hand, it'll be 4 points, which means even if they beat us at the Etihad, they'll only ever be 1 point behind us. So we have to give them back those points. So it opens up something. I'm not saying we should go in with any kind of mindset that we can lose, but it's one that is there, you know. I just wanted to look at those fixture list. Like the schedules, anyway. Arsenal fixtures. If I can spell fixtures right. Because I do kind of want to look like what ones are really like rough for us. Because I know they've got Chelsea, they've got West Ham away. I think they've got. Because I know we've got. I'm just looking at. We've got home to Everton and Bournemouth before we play City. That's what I mean. It just needs 6 from 6. I think 6 from 6. You come out of that City game with only 5 games to go. And if we can get any kind of result, let's say it is a draw, and they do drop another draw against maybe Chelsea or West Ham, you know, if we get 6 more points and they drop, let's say they get 4 points from 6, it'll be 9 points. And then when we do play them, even though they still haven't had the game in hand, even if they win, they'll go to 6 points behind us. And then the game in hand would then take them to 3 if they win that game in hand. And it just gives you that game loss buffer, and our goal difference is better. So with those 5 games to go, they would need us to lose a whole game and they would have to win out. And when you look at our games, we've got home to Bournemouth and Everton before that City game, and then that last 5 are home to Newcastle, home to Fulham, away to West Ham, home to Burnley, away to Palace. We do not leave London, other than City's game in the league now. We have to win 7 of those 8 to guarantee a title. Again, winning 7 out of 8 in the Premier League is tough, because that would, I don't know what main points that would put us on, but it'd be like 85, 86. I mean, that is a decent tally. And then when you look at cities in the same time, they've got Forest, they've got West Ham, Chelsea away, then us. And then beyond us, when we are playing Newcastle at home, they'll be away at Burnley. So you think that could be a title, that could be a moment. Because you'd think they were going to go to away of Burnley and comfortably win, whereas home to Newcastle is never easy. Then they go directly away to Everton when we're home to Fulham. Again, another tough swing that, you know, Everton are finding a little bit of form. We go away to West Ham when they're home to Brentford. Again, we are then home to Burnley when they are away to Bournemouth. The last day we're away to Palace and they're home to Aston Villa. Aston Villa, the way things are going, it does feel like they might be in a situation where they're desperate to win. They need to get a win. Otherwise, they could be in a lot of trouble as far as Champions League. So last night was an unbelievable night. I think I didn't enjoy the game up until about 60 minutes when we changed things and got control. The other result really sweetened it. And then once it finished, it was more like the feeling we had after like Tottenham this year a couple of times, or that Villa game at home, where you almost just want to take as much content in as possible. Sometimes you win a game and you go, even though you won, you just turn it off and go, cool. Don't worry about it. Just move on. Chelsea game was like that. Didn't necessarily want more content. Didn't necessarily want to talk about it too much. But it was 3 points. Forget about it. Move on. That's kind of what we have to do in every game now. If we go against Everton at home, we win 1-0. Whatever. If we then play Bournemouth at home, we win 1-0. What? Brilliant. You know, because then we'll be close. We'll be on about 71 points then, and you start thinking, all right, the City game's big, but we need to just get something out of it. Because if we can keep them, if you win that game, you're looking at a situation where they need you to lose like 3 out of the last 5 or something. And again, it's happened. You know, look at Villa right now. Look at us under Emery when we had to get 1 win out of 5 or something to get Champions League. We lost all of them. These things happen. You know, none of them are a given. Nothing in the Premier League this year, as you listen to Van Dijk or Slot or Pep or anyone, it's the hardest year. It's hilarious that City players are claiming that the officials have gone against them when Foden should have been sent off. Gay should have been sent off against Liverpool. There was the handball against Leeds last week, which I don't think was a handball, but you know, decisions like that have gone for them. Just generally, Rodri is supposed to be getting FA disciplinary, but he's not been given it. When's he going to be given it? Everyone else has been very quick to get theirs. He's not. So I think it's mad that they're doing that, especially when they're under investigation for 115 charges minimum. I think it's more like 136 or something apparently. It is crazy. It's crazy that we're even doing this if at the end of the season there's a chance they could be relegated out of football. Like, why are we doing this? Just give them a 30-point deduction now. Let us enjoy ourselves. And then we can concentrate on the other competitions. That would be great. Because with Man United losing last night, Villa losing last night, you know, top 2 feels a lot more likely now that, you know, even with the worst collapse ever, we should be in there. But either way, we get to actually relax for 10 days now, because even though the games mean stuff and they're very important, and we need to be professional and beat Mansfield this weekend, and then Leverkusen away, we need to come away with some kind of result, whether it's a draw or a win, just something to tide us over to the Emirates so we can actually then go put that performance in. The pressure is slightly different because it's Mansfield, obviously, touch wood, anything can happen. And then Leverkusen is always a second leg, so even if you lose 1-0 or whatever, you don't feel like it's the worst result in the world. So, bit of calm now for 10 days, and then the Everton game's going to be back into however we felt last night, which was like stomach problem type stress. So the preview for Mansfield is interesting because there's not overly much to preview. It was more of a review of that game last night. But we're going to rotate heavily. I don't want to see Sleeper back in that team yet. Honestly, personally, I'd love to see Dauman start. Maybe put Madueke on the left, Dauman on the right, and put Jesus down the middle. I think that's a lot of fun. I think it's dangerous. I think they're really aggressive. And then in the midfield, you play Norgard, maybe Havertz at the 10, and then Lewis Skelly in that midfield role. You know, really change it around. I'd love to see some interesting players in there. Lineups, I'm just looking at it. Not much going on there yet. Mansfield currently are coming off of 4 without winning in 4 last matches. We have won 4 in the last 5 matches. If that made any sense. Basically, they've won, lost, draw, drawn. That's their last 5. We have 1, drawn, 1. The other than that, there's not much really you can kind of preview. It's going to be interesting. It's 5:15 on Saturday. We're going to have to get used to that pitch. You know, it's going to be one of those classic FA Cup ties. They are slightly above Wigan, I believe, in the league, if I'm not wrong, who we beat in the last one, but that was at home. Just looking, Mansfield are 16th, which is 3 spaces above Wigan. They have won 10 games this year out of a possible 33. They have scored 39, conceded 37 in those 30-odd games. Nearer the bottom of League One, we should be able to go there and do a job, even with a rotated team. I don't know about the defence. I mean, when you think about it, I think, Salmon and Dauman starting would be unbelievably fun. Kepa, obviously, Mosquera. We need to keep people like Gabriel out of there. Rice, Zubimendi, these guys. Again, the squad is very good, but there's a little bit of missing. This is where Wenario would feature. But I think Norgard, Lewis Skelly, and even if it is Eze, if it is Eze, then you could do that. And if Odegaard's going to be fit, maybe you play him against Leverkusen and you let Eze kind of just get in and about them. Jesus is a definite. Madueke is a definite. I think you end up seeing Martinelli, but I think I'd like to see Dauman just actually get a start. Keep the big boys on the bench. Hopefully we don't have to use it. But that's it, really. There's not much to preview. I think it's going to be exciting. I think it's one of those stress-free games, unless it becomes a horrible day. But even though we are fighting for so many big things, that we can actually kind of take this in and enjoy it. And that's what it's all about at the end of the day. And no matter what anyone says on podcasts or punditry or whatever it is, we just got to enjoy it. And yeah, some of the games are a bit gammy. Some are really fun. The Spurs game was a lot of fun because they played open football. It's a two-way street, Teams sit back, they're going to do the same thing. If they press really high, we're not going to let you score, so we can't really extend ourselves. But we're going to end up winning the game. That's the benefit of football. That's the kind of the point of football. But also that's the big benefit is we're winning. At a minute, it could all go south. Like I said, we're 2 losses away from everyone causing all sorts of chaos and unrest. So let's just enjoy it while it lasts. Mansfield this weekend, enjoy it. Nice early Saturday. And then we're back next week for Bayer Leverkusen away on the Wednesday, which we'll be doing the main feed the morning of. I will be jumping on here at the start of next week anyway for our Monday episode. And if I can get time, I will try and do a Mansfield roundup, depending on what happens, if we need an emergency pod or anything like that on here on the Patreon. So thank you for listening to this on the main feed. iTunes, Spotify gives a 5-star review. But if you're here on the Patreon, thank you so much for being a Patreon. And if you're not already, please check it out if you want nearly daily episodes of Gunners Rush Podcast. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.